I'm going to go ahead and highlight your video so we're only looking at you, and I'll go ahead and turn my camera off.
Okay, I'll give everybody a few minutes to get ready with blankets and a block. So as we wait a few more minutes till 6 o'clock for everybody who's planning on tuning in to do so, find your comfortable seat. And settle into it. And allow yourself to soften and to breathe normally. And to see what you notice. What you notice temperature-wise. So the temperature that you perceive outside of your body. And then perhaps the temperature of body parts. Maybe your fingers and toes are a little more chilly, your far extremities, than what you can sense within the belly. And in addition to temperature, notice what you feel structurally in your body. A sloping of shoulders, a rounding of the back, a slouch in the belly, tightness in the hips, a taut sensation in the wrist, maybe a kind of squeeze in the toes from wearing shoes or slippers all day. So just noticing. What can you be awakened to in your body, in your space? Notice what happens when you remind yourself to center back to your breath. Does it deepen your capacity for breathing? Does the breath stay the same? And does that have any effect on what goes on in the mind? So continue to stay here with lids softly closed, noticing, observing. Perhaps feel a sense of being rooted down into the earth. And then a golden thread lifting up through the very center of the body in front of the spinal cord and lifting up out of the crown of the head, pulling you up. So that image can make you feel different physically, and perhaps it gives you another kind of sensation of being, of feeling, of thinking, or of experiencing. And now take a moment to notice your thoughts. Hundreds of times within a minute, our thoughts dart all over the place. Notice what you're thinking right now. And if it has nothing to do with yoga, smile, because that's natural. So we do try to come to better focus and concentration in our practice, but that's because we take it for granted that the mind is so mercurial. Notice what you're thinking or feeling now. And take a moment to consider the difference between the organ of thought, which is the brain, the parts of the brain, the neurology of the brain, the blood flow in the brain. How is that different for you than the mind? So when we pay attention, when we try to be present in the moment and be awake to each moment as we experience it, we talk about that as mindfulness, not brainfulness. So mindfulness and the mind is all about processing the impulses from the brain. So we're trying to get some difference today from the brain's method of sending impulses through the nerves, and just to stay with that vaguer aspect of mind. Now, here, presence. Buddha said that everything in life comes down to one thing: staying awake. The English mystic Evelyn Underhill says, "For lack of attention, 1,000 forms of loveliness elude us every day." That and much more. So now that the holidays are behind us and we feel we've been able to let go of some things from the past year, set intentions or resolutions for how we want things to be a little different in as much as we can control them for the future. Let's try to position ourselves so that we can let go of what no longer serves, and instead of planning in any kind of aggressive way, be present and be ready. Tweak our attitudes where necessary and stay as much as possible in the groove of the moment. So beginning to deepen the breath here. Take a moment to relax the brain. See if you can connect interiorly with those different parts of the brain. Just let them rest as though you were putting them to bed, covering them with a warm comforter, letting them rest on a soft pillow. And tune into your senses, your ears. So the ear is the organ, but the hearing is the processing. Can you just hear, but in a restful way? Not try to pull it too much toward you for possession or ownership. Whatever you don't hear, let it go. Notice what you do hear. The eyes, always busy, seeing, forming impressions, making sense of the visual. Let's let them rest too and be soft this evening. Let the gaze settle where it will, in presence and in awakening. Noticing the breath as it fills the chest cavity and the belly below. Bringing attention to the spine. Rock from side to side a little bit. Present to any variant of sensation on the left or the right side, in the hips or the shoulders, the knees, the ankles. And then come back to center, rebalancing, feeling that golden thread again within you. Bringing hands to heart center. And take a moment to silently affirm to yourself your readiness, your ability to be present, your desire to awaken. And very slowly open your eyes, allowing the light to come in, awakening to color, to shape. And letting the edges of perception be soft rather than sharp. Bring your fingertips forward on the mat. And then walk your hands one after the other, one pace and then another. Ground into the fingers, the heel of the hand. Second or third fingers forward. And you only want to go as far as you can without rounding your spine. So we're not interested in going low. Keep sit bones grounded in, and notice this hip hinge. And breathe. A soft gaze. Fill me. Drishti. Maybe you've got a little more ability to move the hands a pace or two further, lengthening the armpits away from the hips. Inhale, gaze is still soft. And then exhale, allow the lids to close again. Inhale. And exhale, open the lids slowly. Bring the hands into your lap. Lift the arms up. Bring the elbows and wrists parallel to the shoulders. Inhale, bringing the palms together, raising your gaze. Exhale, palms down as fingertips come to each side. Flatten the right palm on the mat. So don't be stretched out so that the other palm comes off the mat yet. Left fingertips, maybe just the middle one, is still on the left side of the mat. Notice the difference in your shoulders here with the right palm grounded into the mat, anchored. Lift the left arm, palm comes up, and inhale as you raise. Exhale, bend the right elbow right into the right waist. No need to exaggerate here, just stretching through the left side. Notice the hip, the waist, armpit, and wrist. Notice if the left palm is facing downward. Notice any idiosyncrasies here. Is the left shoulder curling forward? Or are you able to keep it open? Inhale, back up. Both sets of fingertips on the mat. And slowly lower the left palm. Notice which fingertips here are still on the mat on the right hand. Inhale, turn the right arm so that the palm is lifted up. Inhale again up. And exhale over to the left. Left elbow hugs in. So we want to try to keep that thread straight. Want to keep the spine straight. Want to stay with our breath. We want to be aware of what we're feeling in our body. Can we trace where our mind goes and bring it back to the moment as we come down? And bring the hands behind you with the fingers pointing behind. Slide the hands back a little bit so the wrists are not under the shoulders but further back. Feel your thumb. Feel the pinky, feel the tips of all the fingers. And if you feel any discomfort, you might want to pull forward a little bit. So once again, the goal here is to be honest with yourself. When you're awake, you're honest about what you're feeling. You're not trying to go too far back to impress yourself. Take a big inhale and pull the shoulders back. Let the shoulder blades slide down the back slightly. Lift the chin up. Lift the gaze up. Inhale. Exhale, chin to chest. One more time, we're not rounding or arching the spine. only cervical vertebrae are moving, chin to chest. Walk the fingertips back up. Inhale the arms up. Exhale down. And coming onto all fours. We're going to take the left knee and walk it further back than the right knee. Come onto fingertips. Curl your right toes under. Pull up first from the abdominal floor as though you're lifting it. And then squeeze the hip bones as though you were tying a hefty bag. And step the right foot forward. And then creep those toes a little forward. So there's a nice angle from left hip to left knee. And then both hands come inside the right foot and align with the toes. Wrists are under the ankles. And pulling the hips forward. So if you need a blanket under your left knee, you'll use that. If you need a block under the hands, you can use that. Try to keep the spine aligned on this angle. Stretching the left quadriceps here and all the way into the muscles in the low belly. Perhaps you can lower onto the elbows if that doesn't work. For you this evening, stay where you are. Notice what you're feeling. Maybe only one elbow comes down. So if you were to have a discomfort in the right side of the low back by coming down onto all elbows, come onto the right hand and just come onto the left elbows. Stay with your breath. Keep the eyes soft. Anybody who wants to go further can interlace the fingers and let the head hang. Breathing here and noticing. Awakening to any sensation. Is this too much for you already? If so, back yourself up and come onto hands and left knee. Anybody who's still down, take another deep breath. And exhale, coming onto both hands. Make sure the right knee is over the right ankle. Pull the hips back to stretch the left hip back over the left knee. And then come forward again. Trying to keep the hip bones even. And now lift the right arm up, bend the elbow, and twist to the right, hugging the knee into the chest. So you're in cactus arm on the right side. Left arm is stable. Pull the upper arm bone, the humerus bone, deeply into the left shoulder socket. And if you want more of a stretch in the right arm, point the hands back behind you. Circle the arm forward and up. And bring that hand back down inside the arch of the right foot. Backing the left hip up so that it's over the left knee. Walk the hands back a pace or two, coming into a runner's lunge. So maybe you come up to fingertips here, maybe you stay on your palms. Your right heel anchors into the mat, and you're lifting the rest of your foot. Inhale and exhale. You can take your right hand, so the wrist crease is right on top of the toes, and bring the hand to the sole of the foot and pull back a little to activate the hamstrings a little more. Breathe. And exhale. Let's pull the right knee back to where the left knee is beside it. Push the hips back a little bit and rotate the hips from left to right, drawing a semicircle. And then make it a little more three-dimensional, coming forward and back. And then coming back to center, fingertips again, lift up the pelvic floor. You can practice the bandha, Mula Bandha, by trying to bring the tailbone and the pubic bone toward each other. Uddiyana Bandha by lifting the belly button in and up. And now step the left foot forward. Low lunge, hands inside of the left foot, fingertips aligned. So your right knee is back of the right hip. If you want a little more stretch there, just scoot the right knee back a little bit. Hug the left knee in toward the left arm. And breathe. Breathe into the presence of what is. Deep breath. Noticing what you're sensing in the body, around you. Perhaps also beginning to notice the tuning out of the brain and the more forefront position of sensation of mind, mindfulness. Stay here. Come onto elbows. Or one elbow and one hand, in whatever way that works for you. So noticing if there's any pain in the left low back or the hip, and modify accordingly. Inhale, let the heart melt toward the mat. If you sense that you're rounding your spine, try to get more length in it. Lengthen through the crown of the head to allow the vertebrae in the neck to straighten out. Keep pulling that left knee in. Inhale. Exhale. Coming back with the hands. Now making sure the right wrist is under the right elbow, is under the right shoulder. Strongly anchored right arm. Left arm lifts, elbow bends. And take a gentle twist. Keep hugging the leg in. Opening the torso, the heart toward the left. Breathe. Straight spine. Exhale down. Pull the hips back. Walk the hands back. Come onto fingertips if that works for you, or palms. Left heel into the mat. So same way we plug the humerus bone into the shoulder, we're trying to plug the femur, the big thigh bone, into the left hip socket. So wrist might come to the toes. Maybe the hand stays out to the side. Either way that works for you. If you pull the fingers down on the upper sole of the foot and try to ground into the heel and yet hug in that femoral bone, you'll feel more active engagement in the hips. And exhale, left hand to the side. Bring the left knee back next to the right. Separate the knees wide and sink back to a child's pose. Wide knee balasana. You can put your head on a block, rest it on fists or hands. Get comfortable and notice. Inhale and exhale. Deep breath. What are you noticing that perhaps you didn't notice before? Is it a quality of breath? Is it an openness in your back body? Inhale. Exhale. Now from your wide knee balasana, come up onto your knees using padding as much as possible. Let the big toe sides of your feet touch. Scoot your left hand up just a little bit, maybe an inch further up on the mat. Bend onto the outside of your right forearm so it's it's parallel to the top of the mat. And then slide the right arm as far out as you can get it, bending the left elbow, trying to come onto the right shoulder, the right side of the head, like right above the ear. And you're welcome to keep your left hand here. You might want to get a little more stretch through the pecs and the armpit by aligning the left elbow right on top of the wrist. Or you might want to open more by lifting the left arm up. Don't collapse the hips over to the left. Keep them over the knees. Get that sense of openness in the back body. You can stay here, or you can bend the left arm so the back of the wrist comes to the side of the right hip. So that's a lot of shoulder opening there, a lot of rotation of the torso, especially in the chest. And you might feel this in the muscles of the left upper arm. Breathe. Awakening to sensation. And sensation doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's not about one thing. It's all about relationship of feelings and thoughts. And bring the arm back up if it was up. Plant it down. Fingers forward. Lift the head and gently slide the right arm out. Parallel the hands. And just circle the hips again. Bring the three-dimensionality into it. You might want to do figure eights with the hips. A little harder to keep our bodies well oiled and massaged in cold weather. So allow your asana practice to reach every joint, every bone, every muscle. And coming onto all fours, sinking your hips back a little toward Balasana, child's pose. Right hand goes an inch further up the mat, turning onto the outside edge of the left arm. And notice that the left elbow right here is under the left shoulder. Slide the arm straight out. See if you can lower onto the left shoulder, onto the left side of the hip. Realign the hips. You decide what's right for you. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you go back to child's pose. Maybe this is overwhelming for you today. If you're lifting the arm, do it on an inhale and open up. Fingers are straight toward the ceiling. Maybe you need to lift your head off the mat a little bit and place it 1/4 of an inch further toward the top of the mat. Notice what you're feeling in your left hip, and if you can open your right hip more. Is your back tending to round? Perhaps you're going to bend the right elbow and bring the back of the right hand to the left hip. If that causes any distress in the rotator cuff, right shoulder, you know that this isn't for you now. Be awake, be present. What are you feeling as the left shoulder sinks into the mat? Does it feel different if you pull your right shoulder a little more open? Inhale the arm up. Bring the right hand down. Slide out. Come to both hands. And go back to child's pose for 3 breaths now. Inhaling. And exhaling. And another one. One more inhale in this pose. Exhale. Align the knees. Tuck the toes. Coming into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing. So we have an upward facing dog and a downward facing. Downward facing dog is an absolutely wonderful spine lengthener. So pressing the hips back and up. Don't worry about your heels making contact with the floor. Move a little bit from ball of foot to heel. Try it one heel at a time. Feel the sensation. Does one limb feel heavier than the other? More agile? How do your shoulders and arms feel? Maybe you need to walk your hands a little further apart. Eyes are down toward the feet. Soften the gaze. Now look forward. Now look back toward your feet. Now keeping your spine exactly as it is now, look forward again. Can you notice the tendency of letting your shape change when your gaze changes? Step the right foot forward toward the right thumb, helping by putting the hand on the back of the calf if necessary. Left foot comes up. Inhale, lift the arms, keep the knees bent till your back straightens up, all the way up. And exhale to heart center. Close the eye. Notice how the body settles into good alignment. Toes are forward. Feel the outside edge of each foot, the heel, the arch, the mound under the big toe. Lift the toes off the mat for a moment. Try to spread them as you bring them down. Inhale the arms up. Exhale. Hinge at the hips. Come halfway down, arms are out to the side. Bend the knees and come into forward fold. Step the left leg back for down dog and the right. Gaze toward the feet. Nice, long, straight spine. You don't want to arc too much. You don't want your lower back to dip under too much. So you want to pull your pelvis a little forward. You want a little bit of a lumbar arch, but a lot of people tend to make it too exaggerated. Gaze forward. You're not changing your stance. Left foot steps forward. Notice, was that easier? Harder. Right foot comes next to it. Knees are bent. Bring the arms out. Keep the knees somewhat bent until you can really pull in and straighten the torso. Lift the arms up. Palms come together. Exhale. Bring the feet a little wider than hip width apart. Hands to the waist. Fingers or toes pointing forward, sorry. Now again, anchoring into the feet. So be aware of whether you tend to be a little knock-kneed or your toes want to come out. So you want to feel really well balanced on the whole sole of the foot. Knees are bent. So by hinging the hips, we're just going to push the hips out behind us a little and bend a little more deeply into a lunge. Lift the arms forward. So rear ends are behind us. And come a little lower and up. You're going to feel this in the quadriceps. Be gentle with yourself. And up. So some of you might be able to go a little further down, but don't force it. Work within your comfort zone. Keep the spine straight. Breathe. 3 more. Down and up. You feel equally balanced on both feet. Halfway up now. Inhale up. Back to center. Separate the legs again. Bring one behind the other a little bit. And just go from lifting one heel to the other. And swinging the arm. Freeing the torso a little bit. Take the left foot more forward. Do it on this side too, bending and straightening the knees. Lifting one heel at a time. And then come down to Tadasana, mountain pose. Hands are at our sides. Shoulders open. Inhale, lift the arms. Interlace the fingers. Don't flip the palms up. See if you can get your arms on the sides of the ears. And we're taking a gentle side bend laterally over to the right. And up. Inhale, pull up tall. And then exhale to the left. Back to center. Bringing your feet wide enough so they're just inside the mat, inside the sides of the mat. So bending here to the right. Drop the right hand so it's touching the right leg. And instead of allowing your torso to bow forward, keep it nice and open. So you shouldn't really be able to see your left arm. Breathe. And exhale, left hand down, right arm up, go right into it. Left palm touches the side of the left thigh. Inhale and exhale. So if any of these movements hurt, they're obviously of no use to you. So don't work against yourself. Arms are out to the side. Fingertips come to the shoulders. Elbows forward. Lift the elbows up. Open them wide into the back. Shoulder blades come close together. Pull the shoulder blades down. Elbows toward the back. Almost touching. One more time. And exhale. Coming back to Tadasana. Inhale up. Exhale. Bend the knees. Palms are facing each other. Right foot steps back like for a warrior two. Now, without moving your legs, imagine that you're pushing the feet out in separate directions and turn toward the side. So this is not an excuse to come onto the inside of the foot. You want to feel the pinky edge. Try and pull the hips square to the side. And now as you lower your arms into a warrior two with the palms down, you bring the gaze to the middle finger. Shoulders are open and back. Inhale and exhale. Left forearm comes onto the left thigh and right arm comes up. Try to pull the right hip back so it aligns in side angle, Parshva Konasana, with your left hip. Again, get that feeling of the feet pulling in opposite direction. They are in relationship to each other, but headed in separate directions. Take the right arm, if this works for you, bring it down to the right thigh, cross it over so the back of the wrist is on the left hip. And if you've allowed your right shoulder to come forward, pull it back. It's stacked. Chest is open. Inhale and exhale. Now slowly, wherever your right arm is, begin straightening the left leg only as much as you can. Be careful here to not hurt the low back. When you need to, bring the hand onto the shin And if you can straighten the leg completely, do so. Pull the right shoulder back. Lift the left arm forward. Lift the right arm up. Exhale all the way up. Turn the left foot to parallel the right. A wide stance. Straddle fold. Prasarita Padottanasana. We're going to put our hands on our hips for this one. So bending the knees. Hinge from the hips. Same way as before. Tush comes out and back. Lower halfway. So we did it with the legs much closer together before. Bring the hands to the mat. If you're comfortable straightening the legs, do so. If you're not, please keep a micro bend in the knees. And begin to walk your hands forward. Going as far as feels good to you. Feeling the weight on the four corners of each foot. Pull the sacrum back, the low back, the hips. Pull it back. So feel that posterior tilt in the pelvis. Imagine your sacrum. Can you wake up to the feeling of that tailbone? And can you feel it lifting up? Pull the belly in, create a little more distance in the armpits. Heart again, melting toward the mat. Walking the hands back. Bending the knees if they straightened up, hands back to the hips. Keep the knees bent as you straighten the spine. Heel toe the feet together. And back into Tadasana. Let's inhale up. Exhale down. Hands on hips. Bend the knees. Left leg is going to step back. Parallel the foot with the back of the mat. Now with the hands on the hips, look. So not forward to the top of your mat, but to the side. Sacrum now is pulling toward the pubic bone to get a neutral pelvis, to strengthen and lift the low spine. Right knee turns out. Inhale, lifting the arms for warrior two, and now turning the gaze, keeping it soft over the right middle finger. Shoulders are relaxed. Arms are strong, but there's that gauzy acceptance of being here now, of it all being okay, not having to do anything but notice and experience. And bending the right arm over the right thigh, lifting the left arm. So very common for the left hip to kind of lower a little bit, and then for the right hip to push back and the butt to come in. So we're trying to keep the pelvis neutral through this side angle bend. Either stay here with the arm lifted up, or bring the arm back, bending the elbow and bringing the back of the wrist to the right hip. Your pinky can rest on the ledge of your thigh. Open the shoulder, open the gaze. We were all so ready for 2020 to be over. Are we ready for whatever the challenges might be of this year? Can we manage? Can we stay in the moment and let go of clinging in an attached way to our expectations? Slowly begin coming to Trikonasana, triangle. Straightening the leg as much as possible. Right hand to right shin. You might want to turn the back toes a little more forward. And lift the left arm up. And on this side, again, pulling, lifting up through the abdominals. Let's try bringing the lower palm up and the upper to meet it. Open up, bend the right knee, step the left foot forward, inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Close the eyes now. Inhaling. And exhale. And then bring the hands to the heart center. Ankles under the hips. Hinge forward. Waterfalling the hands down. Step it back into downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Walk the hands back toward the feet. So they're maybe a foot away. We're going to try crow pose. And you don't have to get into it fully. You can do half of it. Or just try for the prep aspect of it. So your heels are lifted off the mat. Round in to the ball of the foot. And now walk your hands out a little bit and splay the fingers. Bring more weight into the balls of the feet and see if you can bend your elbows back and get your knees to rest in the upper arm, close to the armpit. When you're there, think of that straight spine we've been working on. Lean forward into the toes and see if you can lift one foot and then the other. Come down. We'll try it one more time. Bekasana, crow pose. On the balls of the feet. Coming forward, knees into the upper arm, right at the armpit. And lift. And down. Come back onto the heels. Step your feet back into downward facing dog. Lift the right leg, stretch it away from you. Bend the knee and pull it in outside the right wrist, angling the leg. Left leg straightens out behind you. Feel the knee, the instep, the toenails. And then if you can't, please don't worry about it. But if it feels good to you, scoot the right foot a little further up. So your right shin is a little more parallel to the mat. It'll never be completely parallel to the top of the mat unless you're Gumby. And gently coming to your elbows. Use a block here if you need one, 2 blocks. And just try to rest into this hip stretch. Noticing what you're feeling, what you're sensing. Maybe your forehead comes all the way down. Right foot stays flexed to engage all the hip muscle. Notice what you feel in your right ankle. Where is your breath? So either staying here or taking this option of bringing the right hand to the side of the mat. So pinky is touching the side of the mat and left arm is going under again. And left side of the head comes to the mat or a block. So if this is accessible to you and not uncomfortable, do it. If it's not, please don't. Right arm can come up and back of the hand can wrap around to the left hip. But remember, none of these steps are necessary. We're trying to maximize exploration of sensation, not some sort of optimal sensation created by somebody else's idea of a pose. And gently disengaging the left hand, lifting the torso, still in pigeon pose. Look up. Soften the eyelids. Right ear to right shoulder. Left ear to left shoulder. Walk the hands back. Come onto the left knee. Lift the right knee. And then tuck the left foot under because we're coming back into downward facing dog. So straightening the left leg and right leg step back. Feet are hip width apart. Rock back and forth toward your heels. Gaze is back. And then lifting the left leg. Open it up. Bend it. Pull the knee outside the left wrist. Left foot flexes. Feel for the right knee on the mat. Strengthen the legs straight behind you. Notice where you are. So the present enlarges when we pay more attention to it. And you can stay here, come onto elbows, or use a block. So just the way in which children can be so fascinated by following an ant, or the way a dog can play with a little stick, or the way a cat can make its whole world about tracking a bird or a mouse. The present is so large for them because they fill up with it. And how we cheat ourselves by attending to a million other things than the present. Cheat ourselves of experience. So if you're going into threading the needle, Left hand is down, right arm pulls under, right side of the head is in contact with a mat or a block. Left arm can come up, back of the hand can make contact with the side of the right hip, or both hands, or the left hand can just be down. Breathe. And slowly left hand comes down, right arm pulls away. Legs come forward as we come to sit. Shake them out a little bit. And left foot comes to right thigh. We're keeping the right leg straight in this version of Janu Sirsasana, head to leg. Straight spine. I would so much prefer you not to go low than you to hurt yourself and pull on the SI joints here that connect the pelvis, sacrum. So bring your hands to, it can be your thigh, either side of the knee, or the shin bone, and sit up tall. Flex the right foot, and if this is where you stay, that's fine. And if there's discomfort even here, bend the left knee a little bit. And then keeping the spine as straight as possible, lean forward, just like we did in the beginning of class when we were seated and our hands went forward. So just very slowly. So we're not making this so much of a one-step, two-step, as much as a gradual movement. If your hands are comfortable down on either side of the right leg, bring them there. Close the eyes. Soften in the arms. Keep the collarbones open and the shoulders from hunching together in front. But just let the movement invent itself in the moment. There's nothing you have to do. Soften here in the jaw. Can you be with a feeling in the joints, in the back of the knee, the spaces between the vertebrae? Can you notice the sound of your own breath? Can you notice the subtle interplay of the seconds as you fold into your version of this pose? Pushing into the heels of the hands, walk them back, switch sides, left leg straight ahead, sole of the right foot into the left thigh, left foot flexed. So lean forward, hands right above the knee or on the top of the shin to begin. And just lean forward. So we're not bowing the back at all. We could do that and probably force our forehead to touch our shin, but that's not at all what we're after. That is not a functional movement. So maybe your fingertips come to the side of the left leg. You're very careful there to feel into the low back, the sacrum. You could even put your hand there. Notice what you're feeling. Close the eye. Feels good to slide the hands a little bit forward. Do it. Keep pulling the left toes back. And dorsiflexion. The second you feel yourself beginning to round, stop where you are and just notice, I am here. I'm ready for this moment. I don't need to be anywhere else. Deeper into the pose. I don't need to be thinking about anything else. How are my knees, my hips, my low back? And I feel length in the back of my neck, space in my forehead, that golden thread still pulling up through the crown of the head, lifting back up, straightening the other leg, shaking them both a little bit, and then scooting forward, bringing the hands so that the wrists are under the shoulders, the fingers are pointing forward. You might want to walk your feet out a little bit so your ankles are forward of your knees. And inhale, lift into table, pulling the hips up as much as you can, straightening the arms. Lift the pelvis, lift the hips, look up, chin to chest. Lower, elbows, feet come up, hands interlace around the front of your legs, bent legs, rock side to side. Pull the knees in a little more, lift your head and chest them a little more. And then come down onto the soles of your feet. So if you have a block, you might try this. If not, and you have room for it, if you can come to a wall, you're going to lift your legs up the wall, keeping your hips as close to the wall as possible. So if you've never done that and you want to look at me, I can't beat a wall now, but if my block is the wall, I literally face one direction or the other and bring my hips to it. And then I try to turn slowly so I can get my legs up the wall, my heels on the wall. And that's Viparita Karina. If you're not doing that and you have a block, you're going to put the block under your sacrum. Feet on the floor, knees bent. Let the shoulder blades spread wide. Arms at your side, palms open. And if you have no block, then you'll just be on your back with your knees bent right now. So just taking a moment here to really relax and soften through the low back. We've done a lot of spinal work. Feel into this. If the block is uncomfortable, you might need to manipulate it a little bit. So the sacrum is that tailbone below your waist. And if your legs are off the wall, just open up the chest and arms and stay there if it's comfortable. If you're on the block, gently pull it out. And then lift the knees toward your shoulders. Cross the right ankle over left. Rock side to side. Again, if your legs are up on the wall, just keep them there. Very, very relaxing pose for the low back. Uncross the ankles and cross the other way if you're doing this. Really moving onto one side of the hip and then the other. And then gently coming down into Shavasana, sliding the legs. So staying with legs up the wall or Shavasana. You choose. And noticing what it's like to relax in the present. You're not relaxing so that you can go to sleep. It's an end in itself. And you're just noticing what it feels like. Maybe you can tune in to the sensation of blood circulating in your body, of the warmth that you've built up in your belly, beginning to dissipate a little bit as you let go. Let the toes relax, feet fall out. Calves are relaxed. Thighs are open. As you lay on your back here, awaken to the strength of being vulnerable. We tend to protect our cores. We're defensive of the fronts of our bodies. But how wonderful to awaken to this sensation of I can relax in my vulnerability. I'm safe. The belly and the chest are open. Upper arms, the palms. Feel the openness inside the skull. And the lids closed. Are still awake. To light and darkness. To little movements, perhaps, telegraphed by the nervous system. You're just noticing. You're remaining uncommitted, unexpected, peaceful. So I invite you to spend a few more minutes or many more minutes in Shavasana. I will seal our online presence with an Om. If you'd like to join me in our sitting up, then you'll exhale through the nose and then inhale to begin. Oh.